Good morning to everyone. Fantastic. I'm just checking whether people are awake. Okay, it's a pleasure and honor to be here, really. And first and foremost, I'm not a doctor. Okay, so it's like I'm the odd man out in this esteemed crowd which is sitting on the dais here. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. And there are a lot of questions. I'm a technology guy. Okay, so there are a lot of questions which have been posed by gentlemen on the dais in terms of can you do it? And my answer, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of the whole ICT community. Sirs, the answer is yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the answer is yes. Where, how, and details and so on is something that we need to sit together and work out. Okay, now first and foremost, before I start with a couple of ideas that I have in terms of use of ICT in healthcare, couple of submissions. Number one, IT, in my view, is at best an enabler. It is not a panacea. It is not the solution to all your problems. So if you start doing anything, you go out to do anything, any reforms, transformations, I think there are three things at a broad level which are very, very important. One is process in terms of how you're going to do it, what are the different things which are required, and in this context, something like NABH is what I'm talking about here. Second is people, right? Who are the people? And we all know that in terms of clinical excellence, India is not behind other countries. But then when it comes to healthcare, there are other things. There are doctors, there are nurses, and so on and so forth. There are paramedics, there are insurance companies, and so on. So, and the third is technology. So technology, in my view, is a catalyst. It is not a solution to all the problems. That's point number one. And point number two is that there's a lot of concern which is being raised in terms of using ICT for doctors or doctors' willingness or unwillingness to use ICT. Right? And as Dr. Singh said, that there is a study which shows that all over the world, doctors are not willing to use ICT. Now, having said that, I think there is a broader application of ICT in the space of healthcare. Even if I look at a small private hospital, there is a clinical aspect. Then there is front office, there is back office. Front office, back office is a place where definitely IT can be used effectively and it can drive a lot of efficiencies. Now, having said that, I have three suggestions, three submissions here, three ideas that I would like to speak about, and I hope I'll be able to cover it in the given time, hopefully. See, the first one is this is around the chronic care, or in a broader way, I would say wellness management, which includes chronic care, preventive care, elderly care, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of community care, I think as a country we have done reasonably good job. Polio, smallpox is almost out. We have done very well in leprosy. In case of leprosy, TB we are taking control of, and so on and so forth. When it comes to critical care, I think the private sector has stepped up. They have done a lot of stuff. The government is also, contributing to that. Now, in between, there is this huge area which is left untapped, or the demand is completely unmet, or it's not met in the best way possible, which is the wellness management or the chronic care. Now, why is that happening? Now, it is very, very clear that if you keep the chronic care and overall wellness management out, it actually impacts the health index of your country, which in effect impacts the economy of this country. Right? The first statement that Dr. Nagpal made was around what Mrs. Indira Gandhi said, is that healthy nation is made of healthy people. So why is that it is not happening? I think the reason is very, very simple. It is not happening because because it's very clear that resources are being pulled into something else. It is important but not urgent, and so on and so forth. So what is happening is that we are getting tapped into this vicious cycle, so to say. Right? Since the focus is more on the critical care, we are not able to spend much time on the preventive care or wellness management. And since we are not able to take care of wellness management or chronic care and things like that, the critical care requirements are going up. So it's a vicious cycle. Now, how do you convert that vicious cycle? How do you break that and maybe convert it into a virtuous cycle? So I think this is where the role of technology comes into play. Right? So if you look at all the wellness management issues, it's mainly about monitoring rather than actually doing care or cure. A lot of this part can be automized, can be taken care of through ICT. You can automate a lot of stuff. In fact, we have been talking to one company which has a device for heart patients. Right? It is a small device which sits on the chest, and it can monitor the vital statistics and also transmit that data across to a server. So ultimately, what is happening here is that the monitoring part is completely automated. There is no manual intervention which is required. Once you have the data using certain limits, you can do part of analysis of that data also automatically. At certain point of time, obviously, manual intervention will be required. But overall, what you are doing, you are shifting a lot of burden from manual into automated stuff through the intervention of IT. Now, definitely, to do something like this requires investments. It requires big investments. Some level of infrastructure is required. But ultimately, I think if we sit down and do the ROI, I'm very, very sure that we'll come up with. And if we are able to improve the health index of this country, even by 2 percentage point or 4 percentage point by doing some of this, it will be of great help. So that is one area where I believe that technology can be used, which is chronic care. So the second area which I wanted to talk about was citizen health data. Now the basic premise here is that the owner of the health data is the citizen and not someone else. Today, all the health data is fragmented. It is at different places. It is definitely not with the citizen. So the way the UID is happening, I think the extension of that is required in the healthcare also, where you have unique health data record of a patient, of a citizen. Now, what exactly this means? This exactly means that you need to have a repository which is online, which is accessible, which is secure, and so on and so forth, and definitely technology can play a big role here. Essentially, I'm talking about centralized patient health records, CPHR. I'm giving it a different name called CHD, but essentially that is what I'm talking about. Again, definitely it will result into better healthcare, disease management, insurance management, drug research, clinical research, and so on and so forth. Again, this is one area where huge investments will be required. That is one aspect, and I believe that everybody needs to pull in. Government can pull in. We need to involve the private players as well, and in some cases, maybe citizens can also pay. We can define the service levels, and depending on the service levels that the citizens want in terms of the data itself, I'm not talking about healthcare, the data itself, the charges can be made and so on and so forth. There is a regulatory push definitely required because it is important to get everyone on the board. It cannot be done just for government. It is very, very important that the private players are also on board. So regulatory push is required. So while we are talking about deregulating, even there are few things which need to be more regulated. Now, is it something which is happening already? Yes, to some extent it is happening. If you look at something like eHealth record or Ping in the US, but it is pretty much voluntary, individual effort kind of thing. In UK, there is something called Health Space, which is the NHS program. Now, that is something which is more like what I'm talking about because it is government run and all the citizens will come on that. Now, I believe that India should take lead and be a pioneer. It is happening in some places, but we can, in terms of doing it in a comprehensive way, we can take a lead. I know that some states are already talking about it, but this is something which is required to be done at pan-India level. Now, that's the second thing. Now, third thing, which is more in my space, and this topic has been touched upon by Dr. Singh already, is use of mobile technology. So, if you look at it in today's India, mobile or cell phone is the most pervasive medium of communication. 1 in 10 people, we have more than 10 crore mobiles in this country. 1 in 10 people have mobile. It's cheap. It's pretty reliable, more reliable in the rural areas than cities these days, unfortunately. And 4G is coming, right? People are already talking about 4G. Now, I truly believe that this is something which needs to be leveraged. I talked about wellness management, I talked about clinical health data. In all these cases, there is an masks and things like that, rather than telling people that there is no need to wear a mask. Right? Now, so before we could really realize, and I'm not wearing any mask neither in the office nor at home nor in the car, because we realize that it is of no use. It's like wearing a helmet and driving a car, more or less, right? So, but that realization came after some time, after I had already spent a lot of money on buying masks and so on. I did not wear, that's a different thing. So this is the area where, mobile phones can be very effectively used by government for information dissemination. And this is just one example where, other parties who have other vested interests just took over the whole thing. Right? Someone was selling masks, someone was selling the tablets, and someone was selling the airtime, whatever. Right? And government, it really struggled to get over it. The mobile technology can be used in the administrative piece also, and it can also be used for patient relationship management. So I think my submission here is that when we talk about e-governance or e-health or any part of E, I think M should be integral part of that. So M-governance and M-health should be completely integral with what we are doing in the e-space, right? So, and I'm happy to see that there is a separate session planned tomorrow on the mobile technology, so I'm happy to see that this is something which is happening. So just to summarize from my side, there are three ideas which I put forward. One was wellness management, second was citizen health data, and third is use of mobile technology in a more pervasive way. I think we should build it and we should export it, because this is something which can be easily exported and well exported into the BRIC countries, into the emerging market. Thank you very much.
Thank you.